Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mentor Me Collective virtual holiday block party. That's a big mouthful, but we're so excited to have you today. And actually, in this session, we are going to go ahead and start off with our morning cocoa. But first, we want to just say thank you again for coming. Welcome to the platform. Here we are raising the next generation of tech while just really delivering an intimate and intentional nurturing experience. And again, my name is Chanel Power. I am the CEO and founder of the Mentor Me Collective. I'm also a software engineer by day, so I guess mentor by night. But I'm so excited again to have you all here. Please drop in the chat where you all are tuning in from. We have a lot of representation. We have Africa in the building, Brazil, we have Australia. So we're super excited to have you all join us. But next up, we have a pretty awesome person that is going to join us on the stage. We have Ebitie. She is absolutely fantastic. She has been killing the tech space and is now currently at Pinterest as an operations manager within recruiting. So I don't want to waste too much time. I definitely want to get her up to the stage. Make sure you guys drop in the chat. Welcome to the stage, Ebitie.
Hello, everyone. How are you now?
How I'm doing? I'm so sorry. I'm doing so good. As you can see, I have so much energy. What about you? How are you doing on this wonderful Saturday?
I'm doing really well. So far, so good. It's a good Saturday. I have a plan of things I want to do today, just run a little bit of life errands and get all of that done. But just so excited to speak with everyone.
I am absolutely amazed by just how you just do it all. I mean, you are doing so many things, even outside of work. You were also the former president of the Black ERG at Pinterest as well. And so I just want the people to get to know you a little bit more. So tell us about who you are.
Yes, I love that question. So thank you for having me. My story really starts in Nigeria. I am Nigerian through and through. I was born and raised in Nigeria. I moved to the United States, and you'll see that in my name as well too. And even moving to the United States, that was an incredible opportunity that I've been able to live through and basically just bring as much as I can to the work that I do and really create my life work around that. So it's been really awesome to just kind of be here. I went to school at the University of Arizona. I focused on not machine learning, on management information systems. I say machine learning so much because I ended up recruiting for machine learning for so many years. But my whole journey is taking me all over the place. It started Nigeria, Arizona, there's Reno, Nevada, then moving to the Bay, and now a little bit in Northern California, closer to Sacramento, where I am today. So, and it's just taken me through a lot of different companies, Microsoft, Pinterest, but just a lot of things that I do outside of work. This year, I was able to start my own endowment. But a lot of what I do is really focused on just my life work, on what it is I want to do on this earth. And to me, it's to literally create the world as it should be. And that's a Michelle Obama quote. Is not my quote. I have a sweater in it and it's beautiful, but it's so important to me to think about how we actually show up every day and how everything that we do kind of collectively revolves around that. So thank you.
No, of course. And I really love that you talked about how your journey has allowed you to get into different spaces and now kind of living out that mantra with Michelle Obama. So would love for you to kind of tell us a little bit more about how did you even get into recruiting?
Yeah.
Is that something you always wanted to do, or is it something that you just fell into?
No, absolutely. I love this question because a lot of times when you talk to recruiters or recruiting professionals, a lot of the answer to this is people tell them that they just fell into recruiting. And it's like, well, what does that actually mean? And for me, it was a little bit more intentional. I started my career at Microsoft. I was an intern on the business operations side of things. And even then, I kind of tell people I've been a recruiter for a really long time. And this is part of me being a recruiter, talking about transferable skills. It's either recruiting my siblings, my sisters to come and do an activity with me, or it's recruiting people to join this association or starting things. Anytime I see an opportunity for change, I've always recognized it and then pull people around me, influence people, and then take someone from point A to point B. And that to me is recruiting. And so I say I've been a recruiter for a really long time, but formally, formally only for the last 4 years. So I got into recruiting because I started in biz ops. I was basically working on cash to order. So I had a 2 point something million dollar book of business every month. And I was working with the sales team to get that money and recognize that revenue from Microsoft, but it was still an end-to-end process. You get the sale, you recognize it, lots of Excel, lots of talking to spreadsheets every day. And to me, I was like, okay, well, what do I love about this role? I loved working with people, loved solving problems. Every day was a little bit different on how we were going to creatively think about things, look at these contracts. And it started with a self introspection on just what it is I'm really good at and what is it I want to continue to do. And so recruiting came as in that role, they kind of asked me to say, hey, like you've shared a lot of passion around this. Do you want to go to schools and recruit them to be a business operation internship as well too? And I said, sure. So I went to these different schools and started talking to students, started trying to recruit them to Microsoft. And it's so cool to see how many people have come back full circle from that. And so that's been really beautiful. So after that, I really said, okay, well, maybe there's something here with recruiting. And I ended up creating recruiting plans where I was like, these are the schools we should go to. If we're trying to do demographics, like, I think we should go here. And so then people turned around and are like, are you a recruiter? I'm like, no, I'm not a recruiter, but let me explore what this actually looks like. So I ended up making that switch formally within Microsoft as well too. And so that was my first technical recruiting role. And I was recruiting senior engineers, did that for about 2.5 years, learned a lot about recruiting, and then moved from Microsoft to Pinterest, also within recruiting space as well too. I hired Pinterest's very first Black machine learning engineer as well too at the company. So a lot of my passion started to fuse in my work. And now it's a full circle. Now going back to operations, so everything that I do kind of comes from this operation mindset, plus recruiting, plus inclusion and diversity. And so now I'm a recruiting operations program manager at Pinterest, and I specifically focus on inclusive hiring. So it's really amazing to just kind of see the intersection of all of my work kind of come together in this current role.
Girl, who are you? Okay. Like, oh my God, that is amazing. I think so. This is like everything that you're saying here is so relevant, right? Because obviously getting into tech is really hot now. And so folks are really trying to figure out how can they pivot in. But I really love how you leverage literally your skills and your background with your education to kind of pivot into this space, but also being able to do a little bit more with technical folks as well.
Right.
So I would love for you to kind of talk a little bit more about that and kind of like show some space in regards to, or share some more information about the space in regards to how other folks can kind of get into the recruiting space or other operations roles that are non-technical.
Absolutely. So the world of tech is huge. I think if you ask a majority of companies today, most of them will actually identify as a tech company. And so because just tech as a whole is such a broad field, there's a niche space for everyone. So if you love marketing, you can do marketing at a tech company, or you can do marketing with a tech focus, focusing on AI, focusing on data analytics. And that is all about what it is you really care about, what it is that you're really good at, and finding that within the tech sector because it's so big. And I think so many people think that to be in tech, you can only do the software engineering roles, you can only do the program manager roles, but there are a whole business function behind all of these tech companies. And so for my first thing is just one, for everyone to kind of just do an assessment of where their skills are at, what they want to learn, how they want to transfer those skills. But I guarantee you there is a position for everyone. So I've kind of talked about this as well too. There's a whole bunch of different ones. If you want to do the business side, like marketing, if you want to do data, data is really big right now. If you want to do inclusion and diversity, you can absolutely do that as well too. If you want to do HR, you can. So think about the skills that you already have or skills that you want to gain and figure out what that looks like within a tech space. The other thing is the title might look different from one company to another. So one company is saying something, another company is calling something else. People operations as well too. Exactly. These are all roles that you can absolutely do within tech. And so within recruiting is one that I really care about. Even recruiting it's huge. Like recruiting is more than just the recruiters that you see. Recruiters also recruit, I guess I would call it talent acquisition. So if you look at the talent acquisition space, there are recruiters, there are sourcers. Sourcers is another really great avenue to come in, learn about recruiting, what sourcers do is that they focus on the top of the funnel. So usually the people that's sending you a message on LinkedIn, the people that's kind of that first reach out, they're sourcers. Their job is to reach out to people and build these pipelines. And typically they hand off to a recruiter during the interview stage. And there are a lot of companies right now that are hiring for sourcers. It's a really great place to start. And I also want to say that you can have a full blown, very senior career in sourcing because there's so much strategy around that as well too. If you want to bring in the inclusion piece as well, you can actually think about that within inclusive hiring. There's inclusive product. There's even customer success as well too. As you think about like how do you actually take a tech product and showcase that in skills that you want to do. So there's even talent brand. So let's say that you're like, well, I really like marketing. I don't want to do core marketing. I want to focus on marketing for recruiting purposes. A lot of companies have employer brand teams or talent brand teams. Those are opportunities that you can explore too. There are people that are really passionate about event management. Let's say you have planned all of your cousins' birthdays, you've planned all of these events and they've been so successful. You can transfer those skills even into a space within recruiting because, again, you're creating experiences for people and you're trying to create a really good candidate experience for folks to come into your company, be exposed to the work that you do, and ultimately get them to that funnel. Then there's the whole operations side of recruiting as well too. These tools that we use, we need people to kind of manage these things as well too. So maybe your vendor management, maybe you're working with third-party tools, you're implementing it. Maybe you're training recruiters how to be really good recruiters. And so when you think about talent acquisition as a whole, there's so many different pieces and it just depends on your interest, what you want to do, and what you want to get out of the role.
Now that's interesting because a lot of the roles that you even mentioned here, I didn't even know about. I didn't even know there was a difference between sourcer and recruiter. I think that is insane. Also, in regards to like being a trainer to show
Yeah.
recruiters how to recruit, like that's
Mhm.
insane. So I would love for you kind of to lean in a little bit more in regards to the sourcer versus recruiter, right? And tell us a little bit more about the specificities
Yeah.
in those roles as well.
Absolutely. So the best way I kind of would describe this is there is a lot of overlap between the two. So if you hear the phrase full cycle recruiting, what that means is you're going all the way from identifying a candidate to hiring that candidate. It's literally the full cycle. So what that means is you identify a candidate, you engage with the candidate, you take them through the assessment period, which is the interview. You work with the team, you put together the compensation packages. This is where negotiations, all of that come in. And then at the end, you make sure that that person's actually processes a hire and they're at your company. And that's full cycle recruiting. And so there are recruiters that focus on that entire piece of it, all the way from beginning to end. Then there are sourcers. And so sourcers specifically focus on that identifying the candidate piece, bringing them in, doing that initial assessment. And then when it's time for that initial interview, they typically hand off to a recruiter. Not all recruiters will have a sourcer, some different depending on the company. There are entire organizations of sourcers, like at Microsoft. We had hundreds of sourcers as well too, because we had folks who were going out there, and there is a strategy to it. There's definitely a strategy to it. There's not a hierarchical thing. I don't want people to think they have to be a sourcer to become a recruiter. There are a lot of overlap there. It is a great opportunity to get into recruiting, but there are really senior sourcers, and their job is to talent map. And so if you give them an industry and you say, hey, I'm interested in design, they'll be able to tell you these are the 10 best design people in the entire world because they're mapping people's career, and you can be so strategic. Then there's also recruiting research. There's a whole data piece around this. So what it is to actually close a hire, what do conversion metrics look like? How do we get to the hires that we need to go? And there's like numbers and formulas and things behind it. And so when you think about recruiting, it's not just go to an event, talk to somebody, take a resume, bring them in. It really is a full blown business operation behind
That is insane. I
it.
didn't even know there was there were those the many levels and layers to it as well in regards to even the research. That's also blowing my mind.
Yeah.
And it's funny, obviously, because me also being in tech in regards to being a part of the UX research space,
Mhm.
and then also now as a software engineer. But who would have known that all of those hands are in this recruiting world to make
Absolutely.
things work. That is
Absolutely.
really, really, really cool. And so I would love to kind of get your perspective on candidates. So I know that you
Mhm.
have been a technical sourcer for quite a technical recruiter or within that space for quite some time.
Yeah.
For in a candidate.
Absolutely. So I know that I'm a recruiter that really, really cares about the recruiting role and making sure that people has a good experience. And I honestly think a lot of recruiters share that sentiment. So I've always approached recruiting from a relationship standpoint. So to me, it's like, how do I build a good relationship with you? No matter what, if you decide to take this role or not, you had a good experience with me as a recruiter and you have a good understanding of the company. And I tell all my candidates, my job is not to force you into a decision. It is to provide you with all the data points that you need to make that decision. And that is my whole job in this whole process. So I've always joked and I was like, I want to be my own recruiter because like that's how much I've really gone above and beyond to make sure that my candidates have the best experience. And to see people come back a year, even if they decline my offer, 2 years, and they're like, hey, you were my recruiter. Are you still recruiting? And I'm like, yes, actually, I have an open role. And so that is the first thing I'll say is in a candidate's shoes, build a relationship with your recruiters. Your recruiters know a lot. Your recruiters are recruiting for multiple roles sometimes as well too. So if it's not a fit for one role, it doesn't mean that that's not your company. It could be that there's another role that's actually a better fit for you. So I start with the relationship piece. Then from an actual like looking at resumes, the assessment piece as well too, I try to understand what it is you're looking for. I asked the three questions and I was like, what are the three things that are important to you? Is what I ask. And sometimes it's like, I really care about being in a role that gives me the visibility, the senior leadership. I need this for my career. And I was like, okay, that's really good to know. Some people like the compensation, that's really important to me. And that's fine as well, too. I never shy away from those conversations because it's an important piece to getting a new opportunity. And some people are like, it's the work-life balance. I really need this for my family. I need remote. I need to make sure that this is the role for me. And as a recruiter, I take that very seriously because a job is not just a job. Like you're actually changing people's lives. I mean, there are so many times when you take a job and you're like, wow, I took this job and it opened so much for me. Or I've met this person. I've been able to network with this person. And because of that, I take this role and I took recruiting very seriously, which is why the work that I do now is to empower recruiters to continue to do that at scale. So from a candidate standpoint, being upfront with your recruiter as much as possible, building a relationship that's based on trust, it just comes from a good place where you're able to make sure that your recruiter is advocating for you and your recruiter is telling your story. So the more you can share about this is what I'm looking for and be very clear about that, the more your recruiter is actually able to make sure that things work for you, your assessment is set up correctly, your interview panels are set up correctly, your loops are, assessing skills. And some candidates have told me like, hey, I really haven't done a lot of coding recently. And so it's like, great. I don't think we need to have three coding loops, to continue to grill you as well too. And that's information we share with the team. And so we focus on we need these skills because we'll always assess for the skills, but also what other areas do we think that this person can add to the team and how do we make sure that they're evaluated in that? And that's part of being a good recruiter is making sure that you ensure that every candidate has a fair assessment. So building that relationship, being upfront with what you're looking for, how you're thinking about things helps your recruiter structure your entire interview experience to make sure that you get what you want at the end of it. So do you want me to go into like specifics on what we want to look for in resumes? What would be most helpful?
Honestly, I think what you said was really helpful,
Okay.
especially when it comes to especially the beginning process of making sure that your later steps are very successful. I
Yeah.
wanted to pivot and ask you another question.
Mm-hmm.
So, throughout your tenure being within like talent acquisition, meeting with a lot of different folks, what keeps your creative juices flowing? you know. I think that's really, I would love to kind of hear how you continue to bring fresh perspective, and like diverse thought to the space, and allowing other folks to know, like, okay, maybe I could try this, like, when it comes to recruiting. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So one is definitely passion, but passion really has morphed into purpose for me is really trained to think about how do I build a more equitable world? And each of us are trying to do this in a different way, whether it's through nonprofits, whether it's through donating, whether it's through time, whether it's through community. And so for me, I kind of saw my way of trying to create a more equitable world is just to connect people to more opportunities. And so every time I get to do that, that's what really kind of fuels a lot of my passion around recruiting. So I've really been able to say, okay, well, I think this is a great opportunity. I think this is the best way to position yourself. And I think this is the best way to get through the process. I still take a lot of calls of people that I just, connect with me on LinkedIn, and we've kind of met that way as well too. And say, hey, I'm just reaching out. I just want to learn more. And I was like, okay, I'm happy to take that call. I can't do it for every single person, but sometimes just hearing a little bit more, just that one person that says, I think you can really do this. I just think you need to pivot a little bit differently is what really gives me a lot of energy. And just being able to see people succeed is so powerful, and it's so contagious. And like there's just very few roles where you get to sit at the end of the day and say, because I sat in this chair, this thing happened. Because I did this work, because I believed in this person, because I advocated for this person, we hired them and now they're on the Forbes 30 list. We hired them and now they rolled out this new amazing feature for the company. And so, like, it is so powerful to be able to see your impact in that way. I feel like it's almost like teaching, like, well, why do teachers continue to teach? Because it's so beautiful to see someone's growth and to know that you were a part of that journey. So that keeps me inspired. That definitely keeps me going. And then it's also never boring. Anytime you work with people, people are different. Each candidate is different as well too. And so it means that you're always going to be constantly challenged in a different way, where I almost all felt like a puzzle to me as well too. Like, what does this person really care about? What levers do I really need to pull to make sure that this is the best opportunity for them? And so every time it was different, every time it was strategy. Like, I've driven 2 hours to create a yearbook. I've created like custom things. I've pretty much rolled out the VIP carpet to make sure that when you are in this process, like, I want you to feel how excited we are about you coming to this company. And so even if you don't choose that offer for whatever reason it is, you still had such an incredible experience that you want to come back, or we're second choice as well too. And so that was always my goal. The other thing is that there's so much work to do. I think for so long, we've continued recruiting in this traditional sense that we have just continued to do it. And it's like, this is the person, this is the thing. And there is a process to recruiting, but there's so much opportunity to do recruiting differently. And
So
what I
much.
say is, we talk about we want to increase inclusion and diversity, we want to hit these metrics, which are important, but so much of what we focus on is on the top of funnel. And when I mean top of funnel, it's focusing on the pipeline, just getting people through the door. And it's like, okay, well, when you find them, get them through the door, and then what? Then are your interviews not are your interviews bias free? Then are your processes actually making sure that we can continue the rest of the cycle? Do we have programs and processes in place that allow people to get through the entire recruiting cycle? And so you can
Wow.
find all the people in the world, but then if our systems are still traditional and we're not adapting to be more inclusive, then we still have a lot of work to do. And that's what I focus on
Wow.
now is making sure that we can continue to break those systems that are outdated, that are status quo, to make sure that they're dynamic, that they actually make sense, that they're actually resulting in hires. And I have the hires to back it up. So I've been doing this work, and it's been awesome to see it actually really be successful. So it keeps me
Let me
going.
just tell you, listen, I wish, Lord, we got to pray that every recruiter, okay? Gets a little ounce, okay, of you because you are absolutely incredible. I mean, I see so many comments in the space that's saying like you are absolutely amazing. You're dropping
Oh,
gems. Um, they were even saying preach. So this
oh
is
my
really
gosh.
awesome, and we are super excited again to have you just be a part of the space. Y'all, I really want you all to lean in. She is absolutely, like I said, incredible and also an amazing resource, as you all can see. So, how can the folks and the people follow up with you post this awesome coffee chat?
Yeah. So I have my LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a beautiful, unique name, which means it's the same on all the platforms. There's only one me in the world. And so if you look me up on LinkedIn, we can definitely stay connected through that way as well too. I am really intentional about making sure that I can connect with people. Please, like I do kind of give this caveat as well too. And people are like, should I just reach out to a whole bunch of recruiters? My answer is always no. It's
Mm.
actually reach out to the people who are doing the work that you're interested in. Reach out to the hiring managers. And it's not that don't reach out to recruiters. I don't want to sway you from that. But recruiters are absolutely just inundated with messages every single day. And sometimes for messages that, they're not actually recruiting for. So I tell people to be intentional about who exactly you want to meet with, why you want to meet with them. Make sure that when you're asking for, time to meet, it's because there's something that you actually really want out of that conversation that you can't just find, on the site as well too. So that's kind of my only caveat there. But again, I do genuinely am open to connecting with people, and I really do sincerely mean that.
I love that. One question I didn't realize that actually came in the Q&A chat. Someone wanted to ask, did you have to obtain a degree beyond your bachelor's in order to get into the space? Like, do you possess a higher degree?
No. So that's what's
Mm.
really cool about recruiting. Kind of, I'm thinking about this a little bit because there is no formal degree program, at least anything that I'm aware of, with like through a formal, 4-year degree that focuses on recruiting. There are some programs that do train recruiters though, and I believe there's either Recruiter Academy. You can search for a couple where you can pay, and they'll teach you how to be a recruiter as well too. On the degree piece, I do sit on the National Board of Advisors for my alma mater. And yeah, I just recently was inducted for that, making me one of the youngest board members, but really
You better
excited.
come on, sis.
uh, but this is something I'm actually talking about is we definitely have a need for this. There's a space for this. So thinking about how we can train and educate the next leaders. But to answer your question really quickly, no, there's not a formal degrees, but there are certification programs that you can sign up for, and there are academies that will teach you how to get the basis of recruiting. Also, LinkedIn Learning is free. So I think some of the things, I think if you go on LinkedIn Learning, when I was starting my journey, there's like a basic one in recruiting as well too. That just at least exposes you to the jargon. Like, what does a requisition mean? What is an intake call? What are some of these things? So look up LinkedIn Learning, see what courses are available. There is a LinkedIn recruiter certification that you can get as well. There's a few academies. I think there's a few sourcing academies. So those are really good places to start.
I love that. Well, you all, thank you again thank you for being here. And I just want to say I really, really appreciated all the gems that you shared. Everyone, go ahead and throw some love in the chat for Miss Ebitie. She is absolutely amazing. And again, her profile is actually attached to the speakers in the venue, so you can go ahead and click on that, and it will take you directly to her in on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for joining us. I am super excited to have had you on here, and we look
Thank
forward to also leaning
you.
into more conversations with you too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
You as well. So, y'all, are you getting into this amazingness? As you all see, Ebitie is absolutely awesome. But we have another awesome guest as well. And this representative is definitely going to be speaking to the technical side. So, this is actually an amazing software engineer. He has been in the space for 20 plus years. He is the CEO and founder of the Tech Hustle, and one of my most amazingly favorite people in tech. Literally just recently met him a couple of months ago, and I absolutely love him. So for those of you who are with us for our tech summit that was last 2 months ago, child, in September. You will have known him. So welcome to the stage. We have Mr. Bobby D.
What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What's up, fam? Can you see
Hey,
me?
yep. Listen, you was loud, clear. We got you all on stage and all the things. So I'm super excited to have you. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to have you on our wonderful summit. We had you on the panel, and also you represented your company as well. But would love for folks to get to know you. For the newer folks that have not been introduced to you, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with the Tech Hustle.
That's what's up. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for giving this opportunity to come and reflect a little bit in front of a community that I know for a fact is pushing towards something great, truly. I start off with a little bit of motivation because let me tell you, that's the thing that I know for a fact. Whenever I have a chance to be in the front of an audience like this, I want to make sure I inspire, motivate you, and let you know you can achieve anything you set your mind to. I'm going to be dropping some jewels. Honestly, I'm going to be talking a lot. So definitely cut me off if I run on a little bit too much. But just a little bit quick introduction about myself, what I do for a living. I just dropped in my link tree link in there so you all can follow up and find out more information about me. But in general, I am a conscious engineer of the internet. I know it's going to be the first time that you heard somebody define themselves as such, but I'm a conscious engineer of the internet and I work at Twitter. I've been at Twitter for a few years, but the main goal and why I bring it up as being the role that I want to represent being a conscious engineer is to transition into something great, which is the tech hustle. This is going to be an opportunity for me to hopefully, inspire the next, definitely give some jewels and let you know how to succeed in this game. Because just like we said at the beginning, it's 20 years in this game. And I tell you, I can't never imagine that I would be here for 20 years without a college degree, without anybody else other than myself on this hustle. So at the end of the day, I just want to give this game away and definitely inspire and uplift the next generation. So that's a quick little introduction.
I absolutely am so blown away. And like y'all said, like you heard him say, without a degree. So obviously this time, especially in 2020, a lot of folks were focusing on how can I get into the space without having to go back to school and pay all of that money, right? And so this is a really great way for you all to kind of lean in to the space with Bobby. We're already getting all the love to you. They're digging the albums in the back, asking you
No doubt.
definitely to drop all the Jews.
No
And
doubt.
yeah, they love that description. So I would love to kind of hear about you. How did you start off your career within tech? How did you know that you even wanted to get into engineering? Because, like you said, you're coming from a definitely non-traditional background.
Yeah. And you know what? The story itself is sometimes when I tell it, it's something that when I'm reflecting back, it's almost like a book. Literally, it could be a book. And that's where I definitely will see us eventually achieve is writing a book on this. But my story really starts off as being a young, melanated child of an immigrant. My parents originally from Haiti and not having all of the grace that other people may have had growing up in this country. One thing that my parents recognized very young is that I love to break my toys. I love to take things apart. I love to engineer. And at the end of the day, that was the light that my parents saw, and they kept pushing me in that direction. Knowing that I wasn't going to attend college after I graduated high school, what was the quickest way for me to get in the game? That was certifications, going to the library, and just leveling up because I don't know if you know, 20 years ago, that's about 2000, 2002. The internet didn't look like the internet now, right? When I say I had to go to the library, I had to go to the library to figure out why that circuit has that one jumper. And if I moved that jumper to one thing, what would happen? The internet wasn't available for me during those times. So that hustle that I got, the drive for me to do research, find out information, and go to the library really was the foundation for me to get into tech. Now, after I finished my 2-year technical school and got into the game as quickly as possible, this is about 2002, starting at the help desk. So when people tell me, where do you start at in tech? You start at any position that comes available. It might take you a while, but if somebody like me that can do it for 20 years, and I'm one of those that enjoys scenic routes, I don't like, just getting to the point. I like walking around the mountaintop, not just a straight line, and really just allows me to develop an insightful view of technology totally different than anybody else because child of an immigrant, didn't go to college, 4-year degree. Most people I work with have PhDs, and I'm able to sit at the table with them. come holler at your boy. I'm about to level everybody up. And that's really comes down to how I got and why I'm motivated by this.
That is amazing. So tell us now about the Tech Hustle. How did that come about, and what is your mission and behind that as well?
So the Tech Hustle came about really after being at a place like Twitter for about 5 to 6 years. So I've been there for about a total of 8 years. And this has been something that has been like developing in my mind, and really I'm manifesting where I want it to be. So I'll give you where the image of the manifestation is, because that's what direction we're going in. For me, the Tech Hustle is really a community for like-minded people, especially if you're melanated, to have somebody like me as a resource. Having somebody like me for 20 years as a resource, I'm telling you, I'm going to push you to level up faster than I can. And I'm taking all the things that I've learned in mentoring other students, like the skill sets that I'm going to bring to the Tech Hustle, for example, is meeting a student at a tech conference, NSBE. If you've ever been to the National Society of Black Engineering Conference, meeting him for the first time, and after building a relationship with him, actually get him a job at Twitter, becoming a level 2 engineer. Twitter couldn't figure out how to promote him to a senior. So I said, hey, if you got to go, you got to go. And now he's a senior engineer at Apple. Those are just some of the examples of mentees that I've had throughout my journey that I've been able to pull, lift up as I climb, and or push forward because I know they can achieve even more. And these skills, unfortunately, have only been seen inside of a company. I want my community to see this. I want you all to see this. I want you all to have an example that you want to also reflect, because most of the reason why is everybody's looking at my albums and seeing that is because those are the things that you like to see as a reflection. What if I say you can be yourself just like me and still be killing it, still be at a table with people that you didn't even know that you're the smartest person in the room, right? Those are the environment and culture that I really want to bring with this community. And the Tech Hustle is really going to be where it's going to be at. From offering services like one-on-one training, I have a program called Teach Me. It's basically, hey, if you really about it, come and teach me whatever you think it is. And if you can teach me, you got it, right? I'm going to offload those type of skill sets with you so that you know how to develop these skills, because in this field of engineering, you've always got to be learning. You always got to be iterating. There's going to be a new framework. There's going to be a new coding language. There's going to be a new application. You always got to iterate. So learning these skill sets is something that the Tech Hustle will offer. Another big thing is, hey, I want people to come and visit me. I'm down in South Florida. If you've never been to South Florida, I'm going to host a retreat, boot camps, and I just want people to fly out and come and see, because at the end of the day, it's not just about tech, but it's also the lifestyle that you live. Because a lot of people are attracted to the lifestyle, but you also have to put in the work. Come and hang out with me for a week and really see the work and the reflection of what the lifestyle actually gets you, right? And down here in South Florida is a hub of the internet. I don't know if you didn't know, but there's a hub of the internet down in South Florida that I have some servers and computers there that I would love to take you there to that facility so that you can see what it really means to be an engineer of the internet, because that's what we really are. We're engineering things for the internet. And if you didn't know that, that's also where the Tech Hustle will be at, right? Because we're going to do workshops, we're going to do sessions for us to actually teach people, like-minded people, how to be a high-performing engineer. And the last thing I'll mention about the Tech Hustle, because I'm really like getting so amped up about this project that I'm working on, is coming in January, on January 9th, and I'll have some more tweets and some more media going out for contents around it. But on January 9th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be hosting my first Twitter Spaces with myself and my crew, with my boys. And y'all going to see me turn up even more than this, right? I have a talk that I'm working on because I'm, manifesting where I want to be, because I eventually want to do a TED Talk. The TED Talk itself that I'm working on is "You are greater than they could ever have imagined." And this entrance into, let's say, Twitter Spaces is a way for me to start talking more about this, obviously manifesting where I want to be and taking along the peoples that I love the most. And that's my boys and my family. So that's a little lowdown about the Tech Hustle. If you want to get at your boy, you can find me online. I don't need to tell you anything else other than just check out my profile, click on my link tree, click around, follow me on every platform. And I promise you, I will be there to uplift, motivate, and definitely level you up as we go on this journey, because it's a marathon.
Bobby, I'm speechless. Okay, first of all, I'm trying to figure out how I can sign up, because let me tell you, as an engineer, I literally started my journey at the beginning of this year in January. I am totally understanding that even within 6 months, child, you are learning a whole nother language. And so right now I'm actually learning Objective-C and learning it on Xcode. And child, We just gonna thank the Lord. We gonna tell him take the wheel. But it's true, right? Because these are things, again, for me coming from a background with medicine, pivoting into tech, doing research, and then now being a software engineer. The pivot is nice, but like you said, you have to consistently learn. And so I'm trying to teach myself like what that looks like for me, right? Like now relearning learning styles. I thought I was done with school, but you know what? That is something that follows you. Understanding your learning style, really understanding you. What kind of environments do you thrive in when you are trying to gain these skills? Do you need to do peer programming, or are you a person that likes to work on by yourself? Do you need like a schedule that really tells you this is what I need to do and get done by this day? Or are you a person that likes to just kind of bits and pieces, and then at the end of the month maybe like kind of gather them together? So that is really important, and I can totally see the value in these kinds of programs, especially with the tech hustle, even for folks that are even already in the space. So for folks who aren't in the space, y'all need to kind of tap in, okay? But for folks who are in the space, especially trying to navigate your very junior and early entry-level career, it's important. So I'm excited. I'm actually looking forward to following through with your link tree myself. I look forward to you all also tapping in as well. We are getting so much love in the chat. Javon saying when Bobby's around, we all eat in. Shout out to Nesby. All love about building the community, really dope. And they also are just so excited to just see and hear about you talking about a tech talk and how you're planning for that. So I would love to kind of lean into that a little bit more, because I know that as people, we have these goals, right? These are something that we may have a lot of things in our mind, like, man, I would love to do this, or I would love to do that. But how do you change and from going from I would love to I'm going to write this down to practically walking out the steps to get to that next role, and especially now with you looking to go towards the TED Talk?
Facts. I mean, that's a real powerful question, because our community, and I'm about to get really motivational, so bear with me as I enlighten. Our community, and when I mean community, I always refer to us as melanated people because there's something special about us. Our community has been misinformed on how our minds actually work. And truly, our minds are the strongest magnets in the universe. And what I mean by that is that if you think about something obsessively, whatever you're thinking about will be attracted to you. Now, the problem that we have in the 21st century that we live in is we have a lot of distractions. It's easy to get on a platform like Twitter and be on there for 3 hours. Like, get on TikTok, you might be on there for 6 hours. That time that you spend not thinking about the thing that you want the most is time that's going to push it back from you actually achieving and getting it. So my biggest advice for people, especially if you're looking for this industry, I'm going to give you an example of how manifestation have worked for me. So when I was in my career, and I was definitely, still very, how can I say, I'm still very unique when people see me. Like, they used to say I'm a unicorn, and I hate the fact that they call me a unicorn, because there's nothing special about me. It's just me with a different type of mindset, and I know my people can do it. But one thing that I got in the company that I was working at is I was actually getting bored. So one thing that I've always done is when I'm my next time or next opportunity for me to level up is I go online and I search for whatever company I work for or want to work for and start to print out jobs. Like, if I wanted to be a systems engineer at Google, I would go to Google's website and I say, all right, I want to be that position. I print out that job. Now, printing it out and pasting it on my wall, which is the next major things, is allowing your subconscious to see it every day. It's right in front of me. I'm looking at my wall right now. The tech hustle is on the wall right now. Every time I come into my office, that's the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing is that I use that job posting to see what skill sets I'm lacking. I highlight them because I want to see them from afar. Highlight them in green, highlight them in yellow, because every time I come into my room, I see that, on my tech hustle list, TED Talk is the top one. So guess what? My mindset is already always tuned to where I want to be and what type of job or what type of venture I want to take. They tell us to write these things down, read them daily. I'm telling you, print it out, put it on your wall. You go to your desk, it forces you to read it daily. Before you know it, you will gravitate closer to it. Before you know it, you'll have an opportunity to talk about your TED Talk. Before you know it, you'll print out your Tech Hustle shirt and you have a community already built. Before you know it, it is exactly what you wanted when you wrote it and put it on the wall. That includes a job opportunity. That includes a company that you want to build. And I tell you, what I had on my wall was a job opportunity for Google. And 8 years ago, Twitter actually called me. And guess what? Your boy was ready for it, because the same hustle they on is the same hustle I was ready for. And when I went into that interview, I came out of that interview and they called me like, yo, we need to offer you this job right now. Don't even leave type stuff. And it's all because my mind was always thinking about, I want to work Silicon Valley, big boys, large system, hyperscale, system staff, senior. I want all of it. I wrote it on my wall and look where I'm sitting. It's a marathon. It's not going to happen tomorrow. You just got to be willing to put in that work. And I promise you, if I can do it, there's no doubt in my mind you can do it, especially if you're melanated. For real, though.
That's so
That's what I was
fire. That is so fire. I'm just really blown away. Again, like about the accomplishments over the past 20 years, and then now looking to pivot into really putting in the energy to seeing our community being built from these tools that you have been able to kind of gain. I would love to hear your thoughts on the next generation of tech. Like, where do you see us moving towards, and like, why do you think it's valuable for folks to kind of plug in to these programs now?
Roger that. That's actually a really good question, because one thing being that I'm born in the 80s. If you're an 80s baby, what's the perspective of life? And we've seen the journey from phones that you had to be at house to answer, at your home to answer. If you're not there, you missed a call, to now you can't even step outside and somebody could FaceTime you, right? That's the range 80s babies was exposed to. Now, the thing that I see in terms of tech, and this is Bobby just putting on his conscious engineering as a conscious engineer of the internet, right? Is we are going to continue to iterate on this thing called blockchain, about cryptocurrency, this thing called Web3. We are heading in a direction that it is a brand new landscape. And if you're interested, it is still novelty, right? It's not like in terms of the mask is using it, right? The mask in terms of like, my mom doesn't know about it yet. But now my mom knows about Bitcoin. She knows about NFTs and stuff. The next iteration of our web framework is moving more closer to something called Web3. And it's more or less being able to manage content, right? So that when I publish a video like this, my family's always eating, no matter who reposts it, right? That's kind of the mindset that Web3 is changing, is that ownership is going to be stored in something like a blockchain. A blockchain, think of it just as a database. I don't care how many times they change the name of what kind of blockchain it is. All it is a consistent database that you can't change, because if you change one value in this file, the whole file's hash, the hash changes. That's all that it is. Now, just take that to the next level. A distributed system, distributed database that the whole world can access instantly. That's what the blockchain is. And eventually what we'll have as melanated people that are creators by nature is the ability for us to own the creation of our whatever it is from the beginning that we posted online. And I'm telling you, somebody that's seen it, that's the trajectory we're heading on. I don't give this out too much, but truly it's something for us to keep in mind. And all of the skills you're learning right now, like if you're learning JavaScript, you're learning CSS, HTML, those will all transition. You're learning Python, you're learning Go, you're learning raw, like all of that will transition. We still need to build APIs. We still need to have network infrastructure. We still need all of those things. We need database administrators to write cryptocurrency type queries. It's going to be there, right? Just think about where we're moving towards, not what people are telling us not to look at. Because every time they tell us don't look over there, a few years later, everybody's doing it. This is something that if I could go back to 2014, when the first time I got into Bitcoin and invested even more, but I learned about it since 2013. Right now we're
Wow.
2020, 21. It's different type of game. So just don't be fearful of the things that you can't see. Allow your imagination to drift off and create, because that's what we have is very powerful, is our imagination can create anything we can imagine. Like,
I
I'm
need you to
using
go
it
back and say that again, Bobby.
interchangeably, but just keep that in mind. So sorry.
No, that's good. I wanted you to say that again. Don't be fearful of what you can't see. That is so powerful.
Facts.
And that is something that like everyone, like as you said, before we get to the state of where our mindset has changed, getting to that process of understanding how to manifest these things into your life and building this vision, staying focused and determined and utilizing your time for things more productive. It starts with combating the fear in your mind to do that. And so I think that is absolutely insane that you mentioned, and definitely I'm so grateful again, like, to have you on here. Folks is out here saying like Bobby's coming with the heat. You're already inspiring them. They're like, listen, teach us, Bobby. And all the things. So how can folks get involved with the Tech Hustle or sign up to be a part of this program, to build towards a wonderful future? And who can sign up? Is this open to folks around the world? Because we have people from Brazil, Australia, Africa, like different countries joining us right now. So would love for us to kind of speak to that.
Yeah, no doubt. I refer to my community as anybody that's melanated. Now that right there changes the game when you talk about the different lands that we're in and or trees that we've been born in, right? If you are a part of my community, and if you're not, that means you're an ally, but you have to have a level of empathy and love for us, no doubt. And if you do, I love you too. But this community that I'm building is for those that have not have had the opportunity to hear a voice like mine, or a path of achieving something that they are also in pursuit of. It's open to everyone. You're in the industry. Guess what? You've probably been in it for about 10 years. I'll let you know what your next 10 years will look like, right? You've probably been in it for 15 years. Let me see where you're at in your journey, and let me see if this is what you really want to do in terms of the next 5 to 30 years, right? If you're just getting into the game right now, let me show you what it could look like if you pursue this and you really get on that hustle. Because a lot of people don't know where you sit until they turn the lights on and see where you at, right? So come through and really, really just be ready to uplift, motivate, start with love. And I mean, it's going to be a different vibe. I posted this the other day, is that I'm really trying to tune the next generation to a different frequency. That's what I want to do. And soon as we do that, the waves that will continue afterwards, this will be old news, right? Being limited in your achievements, old news, because we can do the things that we want to do. Just changing words, changing the ways we define ourselves or the community and group we are. I'm changing the frequency. Like, I'm sorry to run on a little bit, but I watched Yee's Drink Champs podcast, and there's something in the way that he was able to feel safe in his own environment so that he can articulate the things that we were so confused about in an elegant way. And it truly requires you to pay attention to hear it. For me, that's the type of environment that I want to create for you to be great, because you're greater than they could ever imagine. I promise you that.
Ciao, y'all. He got me over here speechless. I'm like, okay, what's the next question? But this is amazing. I mean, like I said, we're getting so much love in the chat. Say it for the people in the back, melanated, for us, by us. Better bring that motivation. So I'm loving it all. I would love for you to tell us a little bit more. And again, just going back to this again, I hope it was clear to everyone. If you're looking to join this pursuit, for the melanated folks in our community, feel free to reach out. Again, I did go ahead and put his link tree in here, and I am also going to post it again on this screen. So feel free, please go ahead and reach out. I would love for you also to lean into, I guess another question I have, I'll say it like that. In regards to building community, so as you said, you are going to be on Twitter Spaces with your boys, right? With your village. How did you do that? Especially for folks now in this disjointed, socially distanced world, how can they do that as well and begin to build community with like-minded people?
Yeah, that's a good question, because my path itself had actually took me out of South Florida. I lived in San Francisco for about 5 years. And one thing that I still needed was my community, was the people that I know that I could act a fool with, and they're just going to laugh with me, right? They're going to uplift me when I fall, right? It's different and it's difficult being remote. It truly is, because we are people that, number one, we're outside people. If you can stand outside, you know what it means, right? And we are people that like to be around like-minded people. When you're so far away, I know the internet provides somewhat of it, but it's not the same. So I had the opportunity at Twitter to ask, to go back home and start working remotely. And this is actually before COVID. This is how the universe works, right? My mind is already thinking about going back home. And a backup plan was, if COVID happens, you're definitely going to go regardless. But I had the opportunity to move back home 2 years before COVID. And when I got back, one thing that I know is that my community missed my voice and the settings where we felt more comfortable. And that's where it would change it, right? It wasn't like, oh, let's get on a Zoom call. Everybody's getting, all right, let me get, no. It's when you're chilling. It's when the lights are off, the music's jamming in the background. You might be sipping something. You might be doing something else. At the end of the day, you're chilling and you find yourself vibrating at a different frequency. and my community missed it. They were like, yo, Bobby, we miss having you around. And I haven't left since, right? I'm working remotely full time here in South Florida. And my communities are the ones that are pushing me forward because they're like, Bobby, other people need to hear this. Bobby, you've been talking this ish since you got back, player. Like, why don't you? Like, they're pushing me forward. They're the ones that are uplifting, motivating me. And when I say it's me and my crew and my boys, it's so that I know that it's going to be a safe space regardless of how it comes out. And they're there to ride with me and I'm there to ride with them. So that's what's made it different, for real though.
Wow, that's so important. And I hope again that you all are leaning in, because it is important for you to have your own space and your own village, again, where you can be your full authentic self. I feel like you're able to even be your full creative self. You're able to
Facts.
thrive, grow, learn, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm even learning that now. Again, like I said, being in this new engineering space as well, it's definitely important. And so before we end off, we have a couple of questions, Bobby. One is from an anonymous person. So the person says, I recently accepted a position at Google. I want to eventually land a role as a software engineer, but the position that I took isn't for that role. How do I continue to develop my coding skills? But he actually plugged his tech hustle so that you can begin to do that. But anyway, I'm not going to answer for you. I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yeah, so this is the thing. Number one, we all need to realize is that we are on a journey. That's a marathon. It doesn't happen like this. You don't get the position you want like this. Maybe your journey says, yo, we can't get you that position now, but you at least are in the door. You already 10 steps ahead anybody else that's applying. That's off rip, right? The next thing is that now that you're at that company, you know that paper that I told you print on the wall so that you know what position you want to achieve? Go and find that position and print it on the wall. Now, the next thing is, since you're at that company, go and find engineers that have that position. One thing that I learned in my career is that mentors don't have to know they're your mentor. I've had technical mentors that didn't even know I was trolling and watching everything they did. So when you say you want to be a software engineer, go and watch them for a little bit. Go and look at their tickets. Go and see what they're committing. Go and see what notes they have open to the public, because we work in transparent companies, right? I can go and see what Jack and the board members were talking about. Go and look. Go and find out. This is your perfect opportunity to see, yo, is this really what I want to do? Because what you might find out is like, oh shit, I thought I wanted to be a software engineer, but systems engineer, that's really me. I like to get my hands dirty. I like to touch things. I like to see this thing working. I can't visualize things the way they do. Let me go and print one of those jobs out and highlight the things that I'm inefficient in. And I start watching those engineers. You're at the company. Who's going to tell you no? Who's going to tell you can't look at my commits, right? Who's going to tell you can't look at what my thought process was? Because in this field, we write a lot, right? I write a whole thesis about what I want to do before I do it. Go read that thesis real quick so you can see how to level up yourself, right? That's what I would say in terms of those opportunities. And let me tell you, when the door opens, just make sure you dare to walk in it. Don't be over there, be on the sideline. I don't know. The door is open. You walk in it. Go get it. Go get it. Go get it. So that's the advice that I would give you. If you got access, use the access you got. For real though.
That is fire. Use the access that you got. Mentors, you don't have to. The mentors don't need to know that you are their mentees, and you don't need to go and make sure that they know it. It's okay for you to troll and and follow what they're doing. I think that's so cool. And I've never heard it like that. We have some love also again in the chat. That people are really loving what you're saying, Bobby. So how can folks continue to kind of connect even outside of the link tree? Again, like how can they just make sure that they
no
also
doubt. I didn't really formally mention all of that. So let me just give you all the first rundown. First of all, if you're not on LinkedIn, you better be on LinkedIn. Every job I've ever gotten is somebody found me on LinkedIn, interested in my profile, interested in my skill sets. And you can also check out my LinkedIn to see where I started from, right? Make sure you put your LinkedIn at for me, the highest thing that needs to be updated at all times and ready to receive, right? Number two, follow me on Twitter. I be on IG, I be on other platforms, but hey, I got to support the company I work for. So definitely follow me on Twitter. Now on Twitter, there is a Twitter account which you'll see on my profile called _ the tech hustle. That's going to be the profile page for the company, the business, and all that other stuff that I was talking about. Right now, you will see it's very vanilla because a lot of people don't know about it. Be the first people to sign up. I might be dropping something to say, hey, I might ship you a shirt just for signing up and being the first ones to sign up. So just get your name, add it to or following this account, and I promise you, you will not have a tough time finding me on the internet, the tech hustle, and what we're trying to do in the movement that we're making. So that's the kind of avenues for accessing and getting close to me. And let me tell you, I'm trying to uplift everybody. So don't hesitate. Don't be afraid. When I tell people the door is open, come and holler at me, you'll be surprised how many people actually come through it. So don't be afraid. I'm here.
I definitely want to plug that too. I mean, y'all, I know that people say that and you might think they don't really mean it. No, Bobby really does mean it. And he really will respond to you, and he really does want to make time for you to meet. So please lean into that. If you're looking for, again, like a tech mentor, if you're looking for someone to help you, again, pivot into the space, learn those skills outside of these outrageously expensive degrees and all that kind of stuff. If Bobby was able to do it, y'all, he's saying that he's going to be able to teach you to do the same thing. So please lean in. This is a success story, y'all, for our whole community. Okay. I hope we can all put our lighters up. Okay. This is fire. So please lean in. Again, we're so excited to have you, Bobby. Thank you so much for being a part. Just excited to just see you grow, lift, and just inspire as well, but also to see what you're doing, also giving back to the community in this way and giving us things that people can't take away, which is knowledge. So you know what I'm saying?
Facts. Nobody. And this is the thing, and I just want to put this in there real quick, and I don't mean to cut you off.
Please. No, please go ahead.
Every company you work for, the money they're giving you, that's not the asset. The asset is the knowledge that you gain. That's the asset. Don't forget that, because every company I've worked at afterwards, I took that asset the last company gave me and I leveled up. Guess what? I leveled up in pay, but I'm also leveling up in opportunity to learn more, because that's the real bag, is the knowledge. So that's the asset. Don't forget that.
That's the asset. Y'all lean into this, okay? Because I'm telling you, this is Bobby all the time. This ain't just on a on a video screen. All right. So I'm super excited to have you again. Y'all, I have already linked his link tree here. Again, you'll be able to see all his links to LinkedIn, the Tech Hustle, Twitter, Instagram, all those kinds of things. Go ahead and follow him. Again, looking forward to having you at the next event, at the next Tech Summit as well. Bobby, doing some incredible things. We're excited to have you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday.
Awesome. Let me just say, I really appreciate every opportunity I get a chance to at least follow a calling that I have, because this really is. And it's not me trying to preach to anybody. It's just really me just trying to uplift, motivate, inspire, because they lied to us. And Bobby D has found out what the secret is. So come and holler at me, for real, though.
I love that, y'all. He found the secret, y'all. So plug in. We totally appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event as well. Bye, Bobby.